Now, in the UK, there is more good news for the economy. The UK unemployment fell by 115,000 between July and September. The Office for National Statistics also said that growth in average pay for UK workers overtook inflation for the first time in 5 years. Pay has lagged inflation since the global financial crisis, but in recent months, earnings have been rising just as the pace of price growth slows. The government says it shows that the recovery was feeding through to household budgets. However, unions argue that it would be years before earnings returned to pre-crisis levels. Now, staying on this topic of UK unemployment levels, we are joined over the phone by John Sinha, who is the Occupy democracy activist. John, firstly, we are continuously bombarded with figures about how unemployment is improving in the UK, but how much of a significant success do these figures really reflect?
I don't think they reflect much of a success. We've had one of the longest recessions in history, and output hasn't recovered really. I mean, yes, there has been a reduction in unemployment, but that always happens in a recovery, and it seems like it's not going to be sustained.
And should the government be congratulated on getting people out of employment and into work, do you think?
I don't know, because people's living standards have fallen. People aren't feeling better off. And many of the jobs that have been created are, I think, merely sort of redefinition of unemployment or throwing people off into very insecure and precarious self-employment. I really question, what sort of recovery it is. The tax receipts haven't recovered, for instance. The tax receipts are much lower than the government expected. So I think it really it is not as significant as the government claims it to be.
John, with these latest statistics, how much will it benefit or will it not benefit Cameron in next year's, bearing in mind next year's general election, will it benefit Cameron in any way?
Well, I don't see him benefiting that much if people don't feel better off. I think living standards are lower. Whatever growth there has been in the economy has gone to the top 1%. The proceeds of growth are not being spread equally, and I don't see how we can benefit much from that. I mean, the sad thing is that all the Labour Party, for instance, I don't think either can claim much credit for what it has done, and I see there's problems for all the three main parties at the next election.
Just moving on slightly, in terms of Europe, John, should Britain continue to do well economically, will the call for secession from EU rise, in your opinion?
Well, I think in a way Europe is the big distraction. It's kind of it is not really the main cause of Britain's growth or the main culprit in terms of austerity, because Britain is outside of the EU. I think I would question the EU's role in the last couple of years in actually pushing austerity in countries like Greece and Spain. I think that's done enormous harm. It's done enormous harm to the credibility of the EU institutions by following those hardline policies which have not benefited the people of those countries. And I see a big backlash against what Brussels is pushing all over Europe, but also in this country.
Okay, we're just going to have to leave it there. Occupy democracy activist John Sinha, thank you very much for your time.